Whatever doesn't kill you only makes you stranger. Stranger Things 2. So I have seen the first 4 episodes. I'm calling it a night for that, and I want to talk about them so far. If I might still have stuff around my eyes. It's Halloween as I'm recording this, so give me a break on that. But Stranger Things 2. Heads up, spoilers for these first 4 episodes. I'm not holding back. I've got my retrospective up on the first season, so you should see at least these first 4 episodes before you come into this video. So there's a lot to like here. The returning cast, all great. They were great in their roles before. They're great in their roles again, pretty much across the board. Most of the new cast I'm enjoying. I'm actually really liking Paul Reiser, basically sort of replacing Matthew Modine as the head of the science facility place government thing. And I really like that for a couple of reasons. The first is, one of the weaknesses of the first season was Matthew Modine. Not so much the performance, but the way the character was written and shot and portrayed, which was that he was just sort of this ominous scientist guy. He didn't have any personality. One thing you cannot accuse Paul Reiser of is lacking in personality. Now, whether you like that personality or not, I know some people really can't stand him. I kind of like the guy anyway, which is another reason that this works for me. I find he has an inherent kind of charm, which I think is a really fun sort of juxtaposition when he's in this kind of position where you're like, I don't think it's okay for me to trust you. And yet I kind of find him inherently affable. And I'm actually finding the entire government science facility thing to be way more nuanced than it was in the first season. In the first season, they were pretty much clear-cut the bad guys. Here, they're not necessarily coming across as good guys, and they still come across as dangerous and potentially a problem, but it's established basically first thing we see them doing in regards to, the upside down sort of bleeding into our dimension is burning it away, fighting it back. So it becomes a question of, are they a necessary evil? Because they are beating this thing back. They're still running experiments. Who knows what they're going to do with that kind of information? They're obviously willing to go to extreme lengths to keep this thing a secret. So they're not good, but do we need them anyway? And that, I think, is way more interesting than just the flat out, here's the evil scientist, which we had in the first season. So digging all of that. I also like Sean Astin, and I can sum up him in literally 2 words. Adorably lame. I think he's great. He's wonderful in this. Max, I'm digging. I'm digging her performance and I'm digging her character. I think there's some issues with the way she is being used and implemented, at least as far as I am in the show. But I'm gonna come back to that. So there are, I'll be honest, I've got a lot of nitpicks, and unfortunately the negatives are kind of in the forefront in my mind, and I kind of feel like I want to talk about them the most. I'm trying to focus on the positives initially, though, because I don't want this to be as negatively tinged a video as I'm afraid it's going to end up becoming once I start talking about my nitpicks and my gripes and all of those things. But, the kids are still great. The dynamic between the kids is awesome, and these young actors are all really good. Eleven's relationship with Hopper I find to be pretty interesting. I'm a little mixed on what's going on with Eleven, so I guess I'll also come back to that. The effects are still great. I love the shadow demon creature thing. It feels very much of the same world as the Demogorgon, but obviously it's bigger and it's got its own deal going on, whatever it is. But I think that's a really lovely, stark visual of that whole thing. Overall, the show is good, the writing is good, the presentation is good. But yeah, I've got a lot of nitpicks. And so the one new cast member who as of this recording, I'm not digging, and that is Max's brother, whatever he is. What I don't like about him right now is he, at least so far, appears to be the generic 80s movie bully that last season I'd been afraid Steve was gonna be, and he turned out not to be. And so that was a pleasant surprise for me. In this case, he really appears to just be that, and I don't like that archetype, and I am not interested in that as a character. So since I mentioned Max, I feel I'm irritated at the ways in which the show is kind of keeping her out of the group. And because it feels very forced, it feels artificial, because her dynamic and her chemistry with them is quite good. And I feel like the show is regretting introducing her as early as it did. And maybe things would have worked better if we only saw the name on the arcade machines in the first episode, only actually met her in the second. She only started interacting with the boys directly in the third, and then you start integrating her into the group in the fourth. I feel like they moved things too fast, and now they're like trying to go, oh wait, she can't actually be part of the group yet, hold her back. Which also feeds into one of my things about Eleven. So Eleven, again, the actress, great. She's still playing the part wonderfully. I'm really liking the way that she appears to be getting a handle on her abilities, both the telekinesis and the reaching out to people. She just finds white noise and covers her eyes and reaches out. I'm loving all that, and I always love the visualization of that. It looks terrific. But there's a couple of things about her character that I don't like right now. And one of them is one of the few things that I'm going to complain about where I feel I can point to and go, that was just a bad call and was the wrong thing to do. Because admittedly, most of the things I'm going to complain about, at least as far as characters and the way characters behave and act, all of it is stuff that my complaints are not that doesn't make sense, because in every case I understand why these characters are behaving the way that they are, and it makes sense, it is justified. But I still don't like it. I still don't like seeing these characters do these things. So that becomes arguably a matter of personal taste. And a lot of the things I'm going to say in a little bit kind of fall under that. This first thing about Eleven, though, I don't think does. And that is that I don't like that she's still speaking in this very broken, truncated version of English, this sort of me Tarzan, you Jane kind of way of speaking. And I don't buy it. I don't buy it because at this point it's been almost a year and we've seen her in flashbacks. We've seen the way that Hopper interacts with her, the way that he speaks to her. He speaks to her very conversationally. He reads her stories and books. You cannot tell me that she has not gotten a better handle on the English language by now, just by being around him and absorption. And she's watching TV. Yeah, no, at this point, you know, she's older, she looks different, she's got longer hair, she should not still be talking like that. The other thing with Eleven, because this ties into Max, and that is when that scene happens, after Eleven has gotten out of the cabin, and she gets to the school, and she looks through the window, and there's Mike, and there's Max, and she sees Mike smile, and Eleven gets this serious look on her face, and she makes Max fall off the skateboard, and I'm sitting there going, no, because I don't want this. I don't want to see the characters do this, and I get it. It makes sense. I absolutely understand and feel it is justified that Eleven is behaving this way, but I don't want to see it. I have no interest in this particular angle, in this jealousy thing. I don't care about seeing this sort of thing from these characters, which then leads me to Dustin. Now, again, the kid is playing him very, very well. He's wonderfully fun to be around. But the whole thing with him and D'Artagnan, the little lizardy thing, well, he's being dumb. And I don't like characters that I enjoy acting stupid. I don't enjoy watching them be dumb. It worked up to a point. When he first found this thing, he had no idea what it was, but he had no reason to believe that it was dangerous. Once he found out that it was from the Upside Down, the fact that he, finds it again, is still hiding it from his friends, that is bugging me, because he's dumb. He's doing something dumb. And again, don't tell me it makes sense that he's doing it because blah, 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 blah. I get it. I don't question the motivations, that I get why he is doing this, and I understand the behavior, and it makes sense, but I still don't like it. And I don't just mean in a character isn't acting the way I would behave. Like, I literally do not enjoy watching him be dumb. That is not entertaining to me. I'm hoping now that the friggin' thing has the Demogorgon mouth going and it ate the cat that maybe he'll wake the hell up. Oh, I get to circle back to something that I do like. I am liking Nancy and John. I'm liking them for a number of reasons. I'm liking that they are using Barb and Barb's death as a way to really move and motivate Nancy, especially as a character, so that Barb's death now has much more of the weight that it lacked in the first season, and that feels nice. That feels like a good thing to happen. And I'm also liking the direction that where she and John are going, and they appear to be prepared to take down as best as they are able to this facility and this scientist. And honestly, this may be dumb, but it's not something that I know for certain as a viewer is a stupid thing. It's a ballsy thing and a potentially dangerous thing, but like I can admire, as opposed to Dustin hiding Dart from his friends. That I'm just like, dumb. I feel really bad for Will as a character. Like, this kid cannot catch a break. He was abducted. He was stuck in the Upside Down for a while, and now he's got that friggin' thing like in him, kinda, sorta. Not entirely sure what the deal is with that, but I'm really interested in that. The whole creature, the whole shadow creature thing, I'm really digging that. But I think there's part of me that wonders, because there's other nitpicks that I could bring up and get into, but I think I've done enough. But if I were to bring it to sort of a central, here's the main thing the first season had that this season doesn't, and maybe everything else kind of circles around that. The first season had a really strong central narrative focus. That was the disappearance of Will Byers. Happens in the first episode, and everything builds off of that, because this whole town is invested in this disappeared kid. That's how Hopper gets involved. That accounts for Joyce and his family. That's all the other kids. 11 is tied to that. Everything is centered around this one event, and it is a strong, easily understood thing: missing kid, and everything builds around that really solid central pillar. The second season right now doesn't have that, and 4 episodes in, I'm feeling the lack of a central focus, and right now it is much more a case of, hey, here are the characters from the first season kind of meandering their way through things that are connected to the previous season. So, we've got Will initially just dealing with visions and nightmares. That has ramped up, and maybe eventually, that shadow thing is going to become the new central pillar, but 4 episodes in, I don't feel like there is one. So, I mean, there's that going on. 11 is fine, and she's alive, but she's not being actively hunted, so that's not really moving the plot in and of itself right now. Dustin finds Dart, but that happens at the very end of the second episode, and it doesn't become clear exactly in what way that is going to be a threat until the latter half of the 4th episode, so that isn't really driving the plot very much either. Now, I want to be clear, it doesn't feel like the show is spinning its wheels and not going anywhere. It just feels like there is a lack of clear focus for both the characters and the story as a whole, that the first season was able to build really strongly around disappeared kid. And I think the lack of that is my main thing when comparing this to the first season. And I think a lot of the other things I've noticed, because I didn't have time to go back and binge through season 1 again before the new season came out. And there's part of me that suspects that there's probably, maybe not as many, but a fair number of similar nitpicks that I probably would have of that first season, but they've either faded with memory, or I may not have even noticed them at the time because that strong central focus was there. When it's not there, I pay more attention to the individual threads and the way that they're folding out, and I pick up on the things that don't work for me a lot more if there isn't like a real strong central thing for me to put most of my focus on, where I can go, okay, maybe that thing's not great, but this central thing is awesome. And season 2 is kind of lacking that right now. It's just got the various, threads that are out there, some better than others, and maybe as they come together in the back half of the season, they will form a proper central focus. But that first season had one right off the bat, and this season kind of lacks it. But I really want to be clear. I am enjoying this show, and if it was not so late, I would watch more episodes. I am enjoying the heck out of it. I am looking forward to watching the rest and coming back and giving my opinion on the back half of the season as well as the show overall. So that'll be it. I am enjoying it. I have my nitpicks. Overall, I feel the first season was better, if for no other reason than it had a stronger central hook right off the bat. And I am hoping that this will come together in a way that also the first season did, because I felt the first season really got going about 3-4 episodes in. And this one might be starting to get there, so maybe it's just taking a little longer. We'll see. In any case, first 4 episodes of Stranger Things 2. Have you seen them? What did you think about them? Please, no spoilers in the comments. Don't be a jerk. But anything else you want to say, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Check me out on Twitter at Council of Geeks. Give a listen to the Council of Geeks podcast, available on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm also one half of the Punch Like a Girl podcast, and that is a presentation of the Fire and Water Podcast Network, fireandwaterpodcast.com. And until next time, this council is adjourned.